Episode 71, Turning the Pain of Miscarriage into Love. Welcome to Longing for More, where Christians come to strengthen their faith, revive their soul, and learn to live their lives with a sense of fulfillment and peace. Listen each week to learn how to incorporate your faith into your daily activities, stop wandering through life feeling empty and unfulfilled, and begin to live your more. Let's get started. A while back, I mentioned that I was going to have a number of guests with me on the show. And if you've been listening for the last month and a half anyway, you know that I have done just that. I have to admit that as enjoyable as it has been to have those special guests on the show, I really do miss being able to give you just my own thoughts. And so I will be returning to that format at least periodically here in the near future. But before we shift back over to that, I have a couple of really special episodes for all of you. Today, I have a health and life coach that will talk about her experiences with miscarriages and the impact that that has had on her life. And then next week, we will talk with another woman who experienced the death of a child. And I know that both of those topics seem kind of heavy, but in reality, both of these women have been able to turn those tragedies into joy. And so I hope that you will listen to both, because there is so much wisdom in the grief that they've experienced. Both of these episodes are in preparation for my Life Team's pregnancy and infant loss walk that we will be holding here on October 6th, 2019. And I will talk more about that at the end of the episode. For now, I'm going to let my guest introduce herself, and we're going to get started with this really great episode. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sunny Sink. I'm a certified health and life coach, and I help women with miscarriage support. I help women who are struggling emotionally after a miscarriage, and I help them to feel whole again. I myself went through 4 miscarriages and 2 ectopic pregnancies, so it has become very close to my heart to help others who are going through the same thing.
Oh, wow. What an important mission. You know, this is one of those things that we often, I assume, I know from the people that I know, it's a burden that we carry that we don't talk about. Can you talk a little bit about what comes with that and that fear of sharing? I don't know if it's fear. Tell me about why it is that we don't talk about that more openly.
Yeah, I think that there is definitely a stigma in our culture in terms of talking about grief in general. And it kind of comes into play when a woman has a loss. And a lot of times women may even try. They may try to reach out to talk to somebody. And a lot of times they just get a message back that's really painful. And so what I found when I was going through it myself is there were a couple of different things. So one could be when I'm trying to talk about it, people really want to help. They want to help you feel better. They want to help ease your pain and ease your burden. And they say things like, well, at least you already have a kid, or don't worry, it's going to happen for you. But what they don't understand is these things that they're saying really negate the feelings that we're having. And they basically tell us that the baby that we lost wasn't important. I actually have a list that I give out with all sorts of things, not to say all sorts of things to say to a woman who's having a loss.
I love that.
Yeah, we just don't know, right? And so I think a lot of times a woman tries to speak about it, and when she gets shut down in that sort of way, a lot of times she retreats. And an experience that I had myself is I tried to talk to my dad about the jealousy I was feeling over a friend getting pregnant so quickly after I'd had multiple losses. And he just kind of looked like a deer in headlights, and he looked shocked, and he didn't know what to say. And so I think that after a couple of interactions like that, we just kind of stop trying to talk about it because we don't feel like anybody's going to understand.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I've been there before. You know, I've been on that side of that conversation, and you're right. We do want to be helpful. We want to be supportive, and we also aren't really sure. So, what is something? I mean, I'm hoping that you'll make your list available to my listeners today.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I could absolutely do that.
I would love
Um,
that.
so I really only count a couple of things as being really good things to say in that situation. And those are, and this actually qualifies for any sort of grief, any sort of loss. And that's, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm here for you. Is there anything I can do to help?
Ah, yeah, we could use that in about most situations any day, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's that's really, really wonderful. So this means a lot to me as well for a couple of reasons. I'm embarrassed to say I can't put a pinpoint on exactly how many years ago it's been now, but approximately 10 years ago, my daughter lost a baby at 17 weeks, regained her life, if you will. And what I love is that we are able to celebrate that baby. You know, it's every year when the anniversary or the birthday comes around, we acknowledge that, and I think that that's an important part of it. Can you talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that it's a necessary part. I believe that different women will react in different ways, and some ways will resonate differently with different women. But I love, acknowledging and celebrating the life. I love having a beautiful ceremony or a beautiful acknowledgement. I think can be so healing, and it has been for me. So I think that that can be a very great healing tool. Like I said, maybe not for everybody, but one of the things that I definitely work with my clients on is really turning the pain into a love. The biggest thing that hit me when I was going through my healing that I heard was grief is love with no place to go.
Mm.
And that just hit me so hard. And like after really going through time and really thinking about that saying, I really took it to heart, and I started to think about, like, how can I give this love some place to go? And an acknowledgement, a ceremony, even just a moment of silence is a really beautiful way to love the baby that's been lost.
Oh, I really like that. And what I love about what you've just said, and first of all, I'm going to come back to this because I want to talk about something that my church is doing to help people, give them a place to come and have that ceremony, that moment of remembrance. But first, I want to hit on something that you just said that I think is really important, and that is that it's different for everybody. And so, as a coach, you have that ability to go in and find out, help that individual that you're coaching explore what they need. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all so different. And so there is never a one size fits all approach to healing. Um, and I believe that we all have the answers inside of us. We all know what's best for our own healing. And so as a coach, all I do is I ask the questions to find out what's going to be best for my client. Would that resonate with you? Would that be something that you'd find beautiful or useful or helpful? And we just kind of explore different options in terms of healing and moving through the grief into this place of love and connection.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that is so important. So you offer this coaching. How do people find you? What does it look like if someone is listening today and they're like, oh, finally, somebody that gets it, somebody that understands what I've been through. How could they reach out to you? How could they find you to have those conversations?
Yeah, thanks. I have a website. It's ssynccoaching.com. You can go there to schedule a free consultation. You can also find me on Facebook at ssynccoaching. So that's SSINK coaching.com, or ssynccoaching on Facebook, ssynccoaching on Instagram. So you can find me in a lot of places. And yeah, feel free to send me a message or book a call. And the first call is always free. I have
Okay.
a couple ways that I work with clients. One way is a 12-week program where we're very actively working on healing and moving through, as I was saying. And I have a 6-week program for women who have just had a loss. And this is more designed to explore feelings and talk about it. Maybe without like an actual intention of like healing and moving past it. It's more of an intention of feeling it and having the space to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is really wonderful, because two
Yeah.
different, completely different outcomes that you would accomplish through those different programs. So yeah, I think that is so beautiful. I really love that. So is there anything that you would like to share with my listeners today that we haven't already talked about?
I think the biggest thing that I want people who've had a loss to know is that healing is possible. I see it so often in the forums and in the groups, and they say, I'm going to feel like this forever. And I did have a very stagnant time for 5 years. I did feel the same. I had come to this place in my grief and I was just kind of staying there. But what I found is when you use the tools to work through that and to transform that to love, you could have a completely different result. And it's not a way that discounts your baby or your babies that you've lost. It still allows you to hold them in your heart and love them without saying that they didn't matter. So many women, I think that it's called survivor's grief, right? Survivor's guilt. They think that they have to feel bad to honor their baby. And I know that I went through a phase where I felt like that's what I had to do too. And what I want to say is you don't have to. You don't have to feel like that to really honor and love your babies, and that deep and complete healing is possible.
Oh, that is so beautiful and such an important message. I'm excited that my listeners are going to get to hear that from you. I mean, have you gone on to have other children?
No, I haven't. I went through 4.5 to 5 years of miscarriages and infertility, and at my relationship with that man ended, and so I stopped crying. And by the time my husband and I got together, we were almost 40, and we talked a little bit about having more children, and we haven't decided to at this point. So it's still maybe a possibility for me, and maybe not.
Yeah, okay. And I think that's one of the things that can be really hard for couples to accept, is that may not be God's plan. There may be something else. When God says no to something, that means he has a bigger yes for us.
Yeah.
And can you talk about how that has come true in your life?
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I have come to a place in my healing where I understand that I have gone through what I've gone through to help others, and to help others move through it in a way that's not as hard as the way I did, and to help ease that suffering and to help them find their way through that pain. And I believe that turning these things into opportunities of helping others can be really powerful in terms of our healing.
Absolutely. Does faith come into your coaching, your conversations with women at all?
Absolutely. I'm not a Christian based coach, but we talk about faith in the divine plan. We talk about faith in the universe or God or whatever my clients believe in. Faith to me means believing in something bigger than you, believing in a bigger plan for you. It means believing that what has happened has a higher place and a higher good. And that's really hard for women in that position when they've just had a loss, to believe that there's anything good that could come out of it or that was from it. And obviously you don't lead with that because what I found is work that I had to do with my higher power when I had had my losses. I had a very strong relationship with God before the losses, and it was very much damaged. And so a lot of women that I work with have similar experiences, and so we really develop that relationship again. That's part of my program in terms of faith and spirituality, is to really reconnect with our higher power.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we forget is that when tragic things happen in our lives, it's okay to get mad at God. It's okay to yell and scream and whatever, but at some point we need to reconnect and allow him to give us the grace that only he can give us in our healing.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of those things where in my practice, just finding that peace that comes from that relationship. I always really encourage my people to get back into scripture, because that's really where that connection can come so much more quickly and so much more easily. So anyway, well, that's really beautiful. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and share your beautiful message with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank Sunny again for coming on the show today. As you can tell, there is so much that comes along with the loss of a baby prior to birth. And sadly, because there are so many different perceptions of when a child is conceived and all of that, the whole world doesn't recognize that when a woman has a miscarriage, that they've truly lost a child. And that can make the grief even so much more to bear. My sympathies go out to Sunny and every woman, every grandmother, every husband who has lost a baby in this manner, because there can be so many things that go along with that we talked about during this episode, and others that go beyond that. So I just want you to be aware. I hope you'll download the information that Sunny's making available to us. I will put that in the show note. And if you are someone who is grieving or knows someone who is grieving the loss of a child, I encourage you, whether it's Sunny or someone else, to reach out and get the help and the support that you need to get through that. It's a very difficult time, and it's not to be taken lightly. So I sincerely hope that this has been encouraging to you, and that if you know of someone that might benefit from hearing this message, I hope you will share it with them. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. It means so much to me that you spend your time with me each week. As I said, next week we will have another episode, an interview with a woman who actually lost a child at the age of 5. And that too is a very heartwarming story that you won't want to miss. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, these 2 episodes are in preparation for my Lutheran Life Team's 3rd annual Pregnancy and Infant Loss Walk. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about here is we would love it if you could join us for the walk. It's being held here in Pierre, October 6th. We start at Avera St. Mary's Hospital at 2 o'clock. Rain or shine or snow. We had snow last year, and it could happen again. I put an order in for a beautiful day. We'll see how that comes out. But come and walk with us. We walk from the hospital up to the church, Faith Lutheran Church. It takes about 45 minutes. And it's just a wonderful way to remember those children that we've lost in our lives. And it doesn't have to be a miscarriage. It doesn't have to be, it can be any way, shape, or form. And in fact, sometimes, honestly, our greatest loss are those where we've made that choice. At some point in our life, maybe we've chosen to have an abortion and are continuing to grieve the loss. And I just am here to say today that there is forgiveness in everything. Our Lord Jesus is so amazing that way. So please come join us, whatever loss you may be mourning, or maybe you just want to support someone who has experienced that loss. We would welcome you. So again, thanks for stopping. Go be blessed and go live your more.